Benjamin Hale had always believed he steered the course of his own life. A regular man, hard-working, steadfast in his principles, devoted to his family. For 12 years he had shared his life with Ophelia Gray, a woman who, from an outsider's perspective, appeared impeccable. Sharp, kind, and blessed with a luminous smile that seemed to brighten any space she entered. Together, they looked like the couple everyone admired. Neighbors envied their serenity, friends spoke warmly of their bond, and relatives pointed to them as a model partnership. At least, that was Benjamin's belief, until one morning shattered everything. That day had started no differently than countless others. Ophelia moved quickly through her morning routine. She gathered her belongings, sorted papers, picked up her laptop, and mentioned in passing how packed her schedule would be. She described mounting work demands, an important project that would require her full focus, and warned that she'd be home late. Benjamin, unsuspecting, simply smiled, wished her luck, kissed her cheek, and returned to tidying up the house before settling into his remote job. But once she left, an odd heaviness lingered in the air. He couldn't quite pinpoint it. There was no clear reason for suspicion, but an uneasy feeling took hold of him, a disquiet in his chest that he couldn't shake. Perhaps it was the rushed cadence of her voice, or how she had avoided his gaze when he tried to catch her eye. Maybe it was her restless movements, as if she were desperate to escape. Benjamin tried to shrug it off and focus, replying to emails, organizing his tasks, moving through the motions of a typical workday. But not even an hour later, something on the kitchen table caught his attention. Her phone, left behind, vibrating silently as its screen lit up. He froze, watching it pulse, before a message appeared on the lock screen, a short sentence that struck him like a punch to the gut. "Can't wait to see you today." His breath caught. His chest tightened. A storm of thoughts swirled in his mind. Surely, there was an innocent explanation. Maybe it wasn't what it seemed. Then he saw the name of the sender, Daniel Sutter, a colleague of Ophelia's, a man he knew well, someone who had shared meals at their table, laughed with them over drinks in their backyard, pretending all the while to be a friend. A chilling hollowness spread through Benjamin's body. His hands turned clammy. His pulse quickened as he stared at that phone as if it were an explosive device. Part of him urged caution. Put it down. Forget this moment. But another part demanded the truth, warning that there was more to uncover than he wanted to believe. He took a shaky breath, reached for the phone, hesitating for a moment, glancing toward the front door as if Ophelia might return at any moment and catch him. But she didn't come back. Without hesitation, his fingers entered her passcode, knowledge that once symbolized their trust, and unlocked the device. In an instant, everything he thought he knew crumbled. The photo gallery opened onto a hidden reality. Photos, dozens of them, videos, screenshots of private exchanges, a whole secret existence, stored without shame, one Ophelia had maintained and one Benjamin had never suspected. The very first images drained the strength from his body. Ophelia and Daniel, hand in hand in a car, wrapped in each other's arms, laughing intimately, kissing in parking lots. Even more damning were the photos from a nearby motel, the same Ophelia who frequently cited work trips, late meetings, and networking events. There she was, entangled with another man. With each swipe, the betrayal deepened. This wasn't a momentary lapse. It was an affair carefully nurtured, reckless yet deliberate, like two infatuated teenagers hiding from the world. There were voice recordings too, taunting him, daring him to hear them. Steeling himself, Benjamin pressed play. Her voice emerged, soft and tender. "You make me feel alive. I never thought I could feel this again. I can't wait for today. It's not enough, but it's all we can have for now. If only I had the nerve, I'd leave everything so we could finally be together." And then Daniel's reply, twisting the knife even further. "We deserve this. I just hope you decide soon." I'm waiting." The color drained from Benjamin's face. His entire frame trembled. His breaths came shallow and ragged, as though the atmosphere itself had thickened and refused to let him breathe. He fought the overwhelming urge to hurl the phone across the room, to smash it, to shout, to destroy something, anything. But underneath the shock, a devastating truth took root. His entire world, everything he had invested in and trusted, had disintegrated before him. Slowly, he collapsed into a chair, burying his face in his hands, frozen for long, agonizing minutes. But no peace came. His mind raced, chaotic and relentless, his thoughts crashing over each other in waves he could neither calm nor control. As confusion overtook him, shards of memory sliced through his mind, fragments of birthdays, holidays, cozy dinners, quiet conversations about their future, shared dreams. All now felt poisoned, stripped of their warmth. He sprang to his feet, pacing wildly, clutching his temples as though he could somehow block out the onslaught of recollections. But they surged with increasing ferocity, sharper, crueler, unforgiving. He recalled Ophelia's excuses, her constant fatigue, the flimsy reasons for canceling plans, the covert phone calls in her car, her quick glances as she muttered, "Just work." And then it clicked. This wasn't simply infidelity. It was sustained deception, a betrayal so profound that while he had worked tirelessly to protect their home and life together, Ophelia had given her heart, her best, to someone else. And Daniel, who had laughed with him, shaken his hand, acted like a friend, had been the one silently stealing from him what was most sacred: trust. Amid the wreckage of his emotions, something deep inside Benjamin began to harden. The crushing grief, heavy as stone, gradually melted into an icy resolve. A cold clarity took hold. This wasn't a mistake. This was a willful act. Two people had chosen this path and walked it deliberately. His gaze dropped to the phone trembling in his hand. In a voice that sounded foreign even to himself, Benjamin murmured, "You chose this. Now you'll answer for it." In that moment, he understood. This wasn't closure. This was the beginning of something else. Without hesitation, Benjamin set to work. He transferred every piece of evidence, photos, videos, messages, voice notes, to his computer. He left nothing out. Everything was logged, time-stamped, and meticulously arranged. A complete chronology of betrayal and humiliation. When he was done, he stared at the glowing screen before him. Confronting Ophelia in person felt trivial, far too small for the scale of her deception. This wouldn't be settled by a shouting match in their living room. He created a new anonymous email account and began composing his reckoning. The message was short and cold. "You deserve to know the truth about the people around you." Attached were the images that spoke louder than any explanation: stolen kisses, lingering looks, hands intertwined. The damning recordings, the ones that had gutted him when he first heard them, were included too. Benjamin carefully chose each recipient: Ophelia's relatives, Daniel's family, mutual friends, colleagues, supervisors, and most crucially, Clara Sutter, Daniel's unsuspecting wife. Each email was set to go out at the same time, and then, with one click, he detonated it all. There was no turning back. The fallout was swift. At work, Ophelia received the email mid-afternoon. As soon as she read it, her face went pale, her hands trembled violently, and before she could utter a word, her knees buckled. She collapsed in front of the entire office floor. Elsewhere, Daniel was in the middle of an important meeting when the message appeared on his laptop. The damning images blazed across his screen, paralyzing him. He fumbled to close the laptop, but too late. His colleagues' stares were already fixed on him. The HR director rose, met Daniel's eyes with an unreadable expression, and said, "Come with me." The scandal erupted instantly and spread like wildfire. Within minutes, WhatsApp groups buzzed with the news. Rumors swirled through hallways. Clients began demanding explanations. Some even threatened to walk away. At Daniel's home, the devastation struck just as hard. Clara opened the email, scanned the images, listened to the recordings. For several agonizing seconds, she felt her entire world collapse. A scream ripped from her throat. She sobbed uncontrollably, flinging the laptop onto the couch. She staggered through the house, disoriented, as their children watched in fear, not understanding. All the while, Benjamin sat far away, watching quietly. His phone vibrated endlessly, calls, messages, voice notes, but he ignored them all. He simply exhaled and thought, "This is what you tried to hide. Well, now everyone sees." Later that day, Ophelia was called into her director's office. She walked in pale and trembling, already knowing why she was there. The viral spread of the photos, screenshots, and recordings among colleagues and even clients had left no doubt. Her career, her reputation, her carefully built life, it was all crumbling. Daniel entered moments later. Ophelia shot him a furious look, her voice breaking as she hissed, "Is this happening? Didn't you delete the photos and messages? How could you be so careless?" She fought to catch her breath, struggling to hold back tears, but no excuse could mend what had shattered. The director regarded them with a grim expression, sighing before speaking. "Do you even grasp the damage you've done? The harm to our image, our clients, our partnerships, our entire reputation?" He slid a printout across the desk. No explanation was needed. The photo said everything. Then HR delivered the final blow, their tone cold and detached. "Effective immediately, your employment here is terminated." In truth, after everything that had transpired, there was nothing more to be said. Daniel dragged his hands down his face, turned toward the door, and before leaving, delivered a final cutting remark to Ophelia. "You need to talk this through with your husband, because it was you who let everything come to light." Without waiting for a response, he slammed the door shut behind him. Ophelia exited the building, her steps shaky, her chest constricted, her stomach in turmoil. As she drove home, her hands trembled so violently that she struggled to keep the car steady. The fear of what awaited her felt suffocating, crushing her with its weight. Upon arriving home, she found Benjamin standing in the middle of the living room, his expression heavier and colder than any outburst could have been. His gaze no longer held fury or sadness, just pure contempt. She hesitated, took a tentative step forward, raising her hands as if to ward off a blow, her voice breaking as she pleaded, "Please, let me explain. I can explain, I swear." Benjamin inhaled slowly, cutting her off with a voice that was low but edged with steel. "Get your things together. I want you out of this house." She froze, tears flooding her face as she stammered, "Benjamin, no. Please, don't do this. Let me talk. I'm begging you." But he simply shook his head, his tone cold and final in a way she had never heard before. "You've made your choice. Now live with it. You don't live here anymore." Unable to move, shaking from head to toe, Ophelia didn't know whether to beg again, fall to the floor, or simply accept the inevitable. In that moment, the truth struck her with full force. Everything was lost. Entirely, irrevocably lost. In the weeks that followed, the divorce was finalized swiftly. No arguments, no attempts at negotiation or reconciliation. Benjamin managed every detail with detached precision, as though he were concluding a transaction rather than dissolving a marriage. Closing a chapter he no longer claimed as his own. When it came time for Ophelia to sign the papers, her hands wouldn't stop trembling. Every stroke of the pen felt like a wound, cutting deeper into her. The reality became undeniable when the decree arrived, its blunt language confirming the fact. Her marriage was over. The days and weeks afterward blended into one another as she drifted through the ruins of her life, guilt and regret tightening around her like a noose, the stillness of her empty existence almost too much to bear. The shame clung to her relentlessly. Even the most ordinary tasks became punishment. Catching her reflection, walking through the supermarket aisles, stepping out her front door, every moment hurt. She lost friendships. The respect of her family evaporated. Even her own parents, though they tried to stay supportive, kept their distance for a time, unsure how to navigate the fallout. Her messages went unanswered, invitations stopped arriving, and before long, all that remained was her isolation and her own relentless remorse. At the same time, Daniel's life was unraveling too. Within a single week, he lost both his job and his home. Clara cut him off entirely, blocking him on every platform, throwing his possessions onto the curb, and ensuring that everyone, family, friends, acquaintances, knew the extent of the damage he'd caused. His children, who had once adored him and seen him as their dedicated father, now regarded him as a stranger, a man who had done the unforgivable. Daniel made desperate attempts to recover, reaching out to old colleagues, searching for work. But everywhere he turned, his ruined reputation closed doors before he could even approach them. He ended up renting a cramped, sparsely furnished apartment, sleeping on a mattress on the floor, weighed down by the crushing pressure in his chest. Clara, meanwhile, turned all her energy toward her children and reclaiming peace. She moved forward decisively, with no hesitation or backward glance. In her mind, Daniel no longer existed. Months later, still trapped in her own personal limbo, Ophelia came to a painful realization. Life would not wait for her to mend what she had broken. She began seeing a therapist, enrolled in courses, grasping at anything that might help her avoid drowning in her sorrow. During this period of rebuilding, she met someone new, a man marked by his own grief, divorced, and raising a young daughter. He understood what it felt like to watch everything crumble. Their relationship started as friendship, built on mutual stories and quiet empathy, and gradually their connection grew into something deeper. This time, Ophelia finally understood the value of what she had once taken for granted. Years passed. Benjamin severed all ties with his past. He sold the house, left town, relocated to another state, vanished from social media, and disconnected from old friends and contacts. He lived as though determined to erase himself completely. Yet in choosing this erasure, he discovered a kind of freedom. Patiently, steadily, he began to rebuild from the ground up. Many years later, at a family gathering hosted by Clara's niece, an unexpected figure appeared in the doorway, causing the entire room to fall silent. Benjamin had walked in. But he was no longer the broken man they remembered. He had transformed, lighter, self-assured, exuding a quiet happiness. Beside him stood a woman, and with them were two children whose laughter and smiles spoke clearly of a life renewed. And then came the real shock. The woman at Benjamin's side was someone they all knew, an old friend of Clara's, a woman who had once tried to warn them, tried to make them see the truth, but who had been dismissed, ostracized, and labeled as a troublemaker. Benjamin moved through the room, offering polite greetings, nodding at a few familiar faces. When his gaze swept past Daniel's, the two men locked eyes for a brief, piercing moment. Daniel, standing apart with an empty glass in his hand, immediately averted his gaze, unable to endure the weight of that look. The atmosphere was heavy with unspoken tension. From across the room, Ophelia watched it all unfold, stunned, heartsick, filled with a deep, aching sadness. She saw the man she had once vowed to love forever now thriving, embraced by a new family, while she remained alone, holding tightly to her solitude as if it were all she had left. Time, once again, had delivered its ruthless judgment. Every choice carries consequences. Those who weave deception will ultimately reap loneliness. Those who betray not only destroy the ones they betray, they shatter their own lives as well. And no matter how much time passes, life has a way of proving that those who cause harm to others inevitably destroy themselves too.